Welcome to Sumbits, where we decode the PowerSchool development experience. Sumbits is brought to you by MBA. Let's start the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sumbits. I'm sure you're all glad that you didn't have to wait another 2 years to see us again. Today we are, as normal, joined by Eric and Ryan. I'm Sean, and today we have Shauna from our very own MBA joining us today. We're going to get into a lot of things about kind of our plugins and our customization still, and really happy to have you on here, Shauna. I'm sure most of our listeners and viewers know who you are, but I'll give you a minute to kind of introduce yourself as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. So yes, I am Shauna Fitzke. I am the VP of Product Management, which basically means mostly the plugins, the paid for and the free plugins that MBA provides. So just overseeing that process from what's developed into implementation and support of those items. And of course, don't forget the QA, most important part of reviewing that development that's put out there.
I'm sure some of our viewers are also kind of involved in that process as well, which we're super grateful for.
We are. We love our beta testers for sure.
Absolutely. It's not very often we kind of have fair teams here where we have two people from the plugin department and two people on the customization side. So I feel like I want to take advantage of that a little bit. You know, obviously there's a lot of differences between how, you know, our plugins end up being a product versus how our customizations come to be. But I kind of specifically, I'm not trying to remove you from the conversation, Shauna, but curiosity is from the development side, you know, some of the things that are probably pretty similar and obviously some drastic differences, but just I'd like to have a little bit of that conversation, and Shauna can kind of dive in where she sees fit. But, you know, we can start with Eric as far as like, you know, when we're start looking at plugin development, you know, we kind of started this conversation about security. So if we want to start there, that's great. Or if you want to go a different route. But just talking about the kind of differences between plugin development versus customizations development.
Yeah, well,
or if that's too much of an ask for you, Eric, I'm sure Ryan has some words to say too.
I promise.
I know one letter can trip you up. I know that was a lot. That was like a few sentences. So if you need time to let that sink in,
I can start him off if he needs
help.
There
you go. That works too.
Perhaps you weren't aware that abusing my ego is in Shauna's job description and not to be shared amongst other MBA employees.
Some days it's so easy.
I know I'm a rough target sometimes, aren't I? So three things come to mind, and from a plugin development perspective that I think are necessary, but are also, like, as a developer, you want to write the features, you want to write the code that's doing the stuff, and but we're becoming more aware of this over time. So you've got the security issue, especially when things are exposed to the public portal. You have then another thing that we've been really working on the plugin side is making our plugins localizable, and that can be a lot of work. It can slow down development, which I'm thinking, you know, if you're working on a customization for one district and they're like, no, that's okay, we don't need it to be localizable, just give it to us in hard-coded English. That makes development faster and easier. And then accessibility is really something that we've been focusing on lately, and I think for very good reasons. But it is a lot of work, and in accessibility, what I'm referring to is trying to make sure that our products are available and consumable by folks with vision or hearing impairments that are using screen readers or perhaps maybe colorblind. There's a lot beyond just saying, push this button and make this data go into the database that has to go in, especially when we're developing for an audience of possibly hundreds or thousands of school districts and multiply that by I don't know how many average users per school district. It's a lot to think about.
Eric, there's this word that comes to mind as you're talking about this, from plugin to plugin and shared code and stuff. And that's the word that you don't always like, which is consistency in the plugins. And, I would say one variable I would add to plugin versus customization is in many cases for development, there's not as much development freedom from the plugin perspective, because we vet those out through our QA team and provide mock-ups of at least, respectfully so, a way that we would like to see things. And you could see Eric here bearing his head here. And so, we don't always want it exactly like, but we give them a starter, if you will, like, hey, we'd like something like this. If they take too much development freedom and that we lose that consistency, we'll come back with some pretty good conversations to be had with
and I'm using my air quotes here for anybody who's not watching the video, friends. The constructive criticism that we get from QA, we really value that as developers.
It's called something like something list, a switch list. I'll let you fill in the blank.
But I do want to say one thing, and I definitely want. Sorry, I don't want to block Ryan out of this conversation. I want him to have a chance to chime in. But one thing, definitely, as we get back to kind of a central theme that we've been talking about, is security. Is that has become so much more prevalent in how I'm thinking about how I'm developing of late. And one of the biggest factors in that is escaping. For those of us who are developers, when we're using the parameter values, the GPV tags, those are a huge place that we can expose SQL injection attacks in our code, especially, and not exclusively, but I want to say especially, because kids are squirrely nowadays, and I have a real smirk on my face for anybody not watching, and they will find ways. I don't know. We could do a whole episode on it. We kind of, I can't remember if we've talked in depth about this before on security.
I've been saying it since I worked for a school district and experienced it. But then again, I was a high school student once upon a time too. Kids are smart.
I don't think we necessarily wouldn't
them.
Provide the instructions on how to.
Yeah.
There are times when I swore no kid's ever going to figure this out.
And I remember telling you, I bet they will.
Yep. For sure.
And that I want to say so now that I've made that statement, I also feel obligated to say that we've done thorough reviews of all of our mass marketed plugins to assess for security and for holes, and to make sure that we have secured those to the greatest extent we possibly can. But especially when you're using T-list SQL and you're using parameter tags, GPVs, it's a great place to open up yourself to potential SQL injection attacks. So something to always keep in the back of your head.
Yeah, all right. I think he's going to let you talk now.
No, a little different.
So anyway, what I was
a little different on the customization side for development, but I definitely have more freedom than on the plugin side, but I don't,
intentionally though.
Yeah, well, I don't take advantage of that, and in a way that I still, you have your mock-ups, you have your cleanup, your QA. I'm very open with customers, and I prefer any mock-ups or samples you can provide in the first place, because I want to, I like to work very closely with my customers when they want customizations, and it's they're the creator behind it. They're the designer. I'm just, the one coding it. And, I have the freedom, the freedom I take is, how I design maybe the architecture on the back for sure. And that's where I go. But when it comes to the front end, usually once I start getting to a point where UI is involved or reporting is coming out, I like to get people's eyes on things. And as much as possible, the specific stakeholders that are requesting something. So in a lot of cases, the main contact for any given project will be somebody in a administrative role, in a technology role, but the person requesting might be the leadership team at a high school, and then it becomes challenging when and everyone understands and sympathetic in the situation, but when there's a question, they might not have an answer and they'll have to check back and da 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 da. Occasionally I'll say, hey, it might be easier if we can get them on the call. And occasionally I get feedback going, oh, I'm kind of worried that if they get you on the call, they'll da 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 da. I'm like, no, I honestly I can work with anybody and I do work with everybody. And I've never been in a situation with customers where I was like, nope, not going to talk to them anymore.
Are you referencing scope creep in that situation, Ryan? So scope creep is just more of a technical term for anybody listening that's not familiar. Is like, yeah, we thought we wanted this, and then when you showed it to us, you gave us what we wanted or something really close to it, and all of a sudden the hamster starts running.
Yeah.
But if we had a button to do that too.
Yeah.
I like to be as open as possible with customers. And I mean, there's nothing, well, I mean, as long as it's, I guess, allowable and permittable on the grander scheme of things, there's nothing I won't do that they ask me of. I will always, objectively share an opinion when I see anything that could be concerned. And I mean, it's from me, it's based on, well over a decade of experience doing this and going, so I know people have done this. I've known people have asked this, whatever it is. This is what could happen. This is what might happen. And then also, if we want this, we might want to consider doing this as well, just so that we can mitigate this issue down the road. And people really appreciate that. And it makes it easier to get through those things. And also when, someone has this, idea that they were really married to, doing, and they can't, like the person that they're communicating through to communicate with me with, can't get back to them and say, hey,
lost in translation.
Maybe we don't want this. Once I meet with them and I can explain it as best I can, then they're like, oh, okay, I understand. Well, what I really was after was this. And then, oh, well, that changes everything. This is what we can do then for that. And then we don't even have to worry about this risky situation at all.
Yeah. Curious, Ryan, in your experience with customization, clients, is there a big concern on the security standpoint from them, or is a lot of that coming from your experience of like, well, we can do it that way, but insert security concern here?
I mean, everything that's like, let's say, implicitly, required security wise. I mean, it's not like I need to bring it. I just do it. Make sure we're secure. That's
right.
If there's something that's requested that I see as that's not good, I'm very open with that. And
are you seeing an increase in people kind of being more aware of security?
It's like it's different in mine because a lot of everyone I'm working with's got more of that, and I don't want to say tunnel vision, but they're focused on their project, their situation, and they're looking at it all internally. And so they don't actually see those things like I do. So, like I said, I'll bring it up. I mean, the number one thing, I mean, we're bringing Tammy up again, that I always, consider whenever I'm getting certain requests, specifically when it's work for either the public portal or the teachers portal, is FERPA. And I'm definitely no FERPA expert, but I know enough to know when I go, well, see, I think that might be a FERPA violation. And you might want to get it, in writing that someone specifically is asking for this, or, get some kind of approval, before, you get yourself in hot water. Sure. And that, like to make sure that those kind of things are all very clearly documented and the due diligence has been done. But yeah, I mean, the security is always something to consider. And I'm definitely not shy to approach it and work with it and bring it up. Because the last thing any of us want to do, I mean, on a company as a whole, as us on developers, in the community, whatever, no one wants to be responsible for any situation. And we'll, I know the four of us all, on a company as a whole too, we are going to do our best and everything possible, exhaustively, to make sure that that doesn't happen. It's a priority, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ryan, for sure. I know from, obviously, with on the plugin side, we get a lot of enhancement requests, and some of those enhancement requests are a little wide open in areas that maybe they shouldn't be. And those are just never going to get added to the to plugin because of that. And in other cases, we've moved forward with some options, giving options on how somebody might want to approach something, maybe like in an email and what information they want to include in that, being careful of what they send or post. And really, it's up to the individual districts to make that decision on what it is that they want to include or not include in those messages. So usually in implementation, we try to address some secure practices. And if they decide to go outside of that box, then they have that option. Yeah, but we don't make a lot of those options.
Yeah, that's scary. So, Shauna, what you're making me think of right now is our behavior plugin, where you can publish and archive letters based on student log entries. And we've branched out more, and other developers have worked on things with incident management as well. But my personal experience has been more with log entries. And you can publish and send a letter home to guardians, and that includes log entry text. And I think, and maybe you can speak better to this than I can, Shauna, like if I called out Ryan's son's name in my son's log entry, and I send that as a letter to Ryan that says, Eric's kid, Johnny, attacked your kid, like that's a problem, right? And is that I mean, so then what are we supposed to do as a company, as MBA, and say, no, we're just not going to develop letters, because people really want that, right? They want to be able to communicate. We have to just communicate, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, here's what we're allowing you to do. You need to use it responsibly.
Correct. And that is the important piece, is that it's really in the hands of the district to make those decisions. We do, like I said, in implementation, we really advise, be careful, know what information you are providing. Maybe before you archive that, you do a scan of those letters, so to speak. We also have an email option in behavior where you can email other advisors or counselors about an incident that occurred or a log that occurred. And in those instances, again, you might just want to indicate that student number so-and-so, has a new incident that you might need, or a new log that you need to review. And that might just be it. But we have had multiple requests for lots more information to be sent through that email. So how secure is the email? That's really up to the district to really procure, make those decisions. And so we're giving them the tools that they're asking for, but it does make us cringe occasionally, I will say.
And I mean, to clarify too, and if to tell me, I mean, taking our plugin out of the mix here.
Yeah.
If a school, like if a parent requested the log records for their child, the school would still have to redact, remove, change the names from that. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's being emailed out. It's just the fact that no one can see that record or read information on that record that doesn't pertain specifically to their child. So, I mean, and that's the FERPA thing there, right?
Correct.
We'd bring Tammy into the conversation, but she's still in prison. So.
Wasn't that even called out on the forum just last week?
It was.
I love it.
And you guys will be, probably laughed and find it funny to know that we actually had somebody send Tammy a very large metal file for her to escape prison. Someone actually sent her a large metal file.
I will bet you that made Tammy Todd's day. Dr. Tammy Todd.
Sure it did.
I think we mentioned
Absolutely.
that. I think we mentioned that in our last episode.
Yes.
What's happened? We got Dr. Tammy Todd.
She did say that she did at least have one coworker that was willing to back her.
That's right.
Just one.
She was happy to feel supported.
Yeah, she was supported by this one by sending her the metal file. It was great.
And I don't want to detract from that thoughtful gift, but it really would have been better if she had been sent a cake with a file baked into it. Just saying.
with Sumbits logo up her face.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Funny.
Speaking of which, we are now selling cakes. If you log known.
Yeah. Link found
Ryan's
below.
email below.
Right. Special order. You got to pay for Canadian shipping, though.
So, can we talk? One of the things I think might have been, and maybe I'm taking Sean's job and he won't let me join the next podcast.
I don't have a job.
Okay. One of the things I think Shauna was interested in maybe discussing with us today was you brought up enhancement requests, Shauna. Yeah. And I think it would be interesting for our clients to hear a little bit about how that process works, because, man, we get a lot of them, I think. And
don't we just email Shauna directly?
Gee, I mean, I got a direct email just last week, as a matter of fact. I forwarded that right to Shauna. But this is one of the things that I love about being a developer and being at the bottom of the totem pole is somebody else gets to make the decisions and funnel them down to me and say, here are your priorities. It's got to be rough. Like we want to make everybody happy, but like, I don't know. Can you talk at all about like the process of like evaluating and prioritizing? And
I know you had a number at one point, but do you remember how many enhancement requests we had last year?
Oh,
I remember,
gosh.
or approximate, just out of curiosity.
I mean, well in the thousands for sure. I don't recall like per plugin, but I mean, just in Report Creator alone, actively, and we close out a lot of them every time we do enhancements. I mean, we have like over 1,500 in Report Creator alone, not just from last year, but just that have been compiling for a while. Yeah. But I'd love to talk about that process because I think it really does drive a lot of our development. So we do take into consideration what customers are looking for. So rather, a lot of times we'll just say, if you're looking for an enhancement, put in a support ticket and indicate that it's an enhancement request and what it is that you're looking for. And
Shauna, that just goes into the void where it'll never be viewed again. Thank you.
That's not true. That's not true. But I know that some people might feel that way. We obviously cannot do every single enhancement request that comes our way. We do absolutely, though, get it into every Friday. Anything that comes in through support, anything that comes in through our customer solutions, or even internally from our own employees, we get those into our projects once a week, and they are reviewed, and they are kind of, if there's like enhancement requests, those are compiled basically under one task with a bunch of subtasks that involve that particular item or request. Sometimes on a report, for example, we might have several requests to change a report. They may not be exactly the same, but we'll kind of categorize those and clump them together. And then when we're looking at development, we're looking at how many requests do we have for this? We also, once we consider gosh, we have a lot of requests for this, but this is a hefty lift. We'll be able to analyze it and see this request is awesome, but we need to kind of mock it up, get it over to the developer for review, and have the developer provide a number of work hours, an estimate of how long that's going to take to do that development. And in order for us to have regular releases, we cannot pile that developer too heavy with 300, 400 hours worth of work out of enhancements. So we try to kind of contain, depending on the releases that we're doing. I don't know, Eric, you have a pretty big variety, but I would say anywhere from 30 hours up to 100, maybe 120 is stretching it, unless we're building a new plugin or some brand new features that are definitely a requirement, on top of trying to align with everything core PowerSchool for those mass plugins. We really need to be able to take all of those into consideration. So our enhancements are absolutely reviewed. The QA team is phenomenal. They go through those. And once we start putting together what we call a milestone for the new enhancements, we really do start to mock those up and get the developer feedback.
Yeah, and I struggle with that, and I love that. I want to say personally, as a plugin developer. So I actually do have a T-shirt. Rami Bacchus, if you're listening, I love you. Thank you for the T-shirt. I've never worked in a school district, it says, because that's like my catchphrase. And everybody else on this podcast right now has worked in a school district. It's fascinating that the things that I, as a developer, I'm like, there's no return on investment on that development time. Why would we bother? And then I have a conversation with Shauna Fitzke, and it's like, do you realize how many enhancement requests we've got for this? And I've worked in a school district, and yes, it's valuable. Okay. Sometimes
there's the name of the game too. It's
sometimes we need to be put in our place.
Something popular, everyone's asking for it. They're all reviewed, nothing's ignored, but when it's a lot of people asking, it's going to get a lot more attention. Yeah. But this leads into the question, and I think, because I deal with it regularly, why enhancement requests, Mr. Customization? Why can't we customize the plugin? The simple answer is,
did you just open a can of worms?
No, because
can we cut this off here and go to
like I said, I like to be transparent. Wow. I like to be open.
Yeah.
Because customizing
it's a great
plugins
point,
is a bad time.
Yeah.
if we customize the product, it just detracts from the experience for yourselves as users, and then makes it much more difficult for you to maintain it, for even supporting that down the road. It leaves it a lot more open. I like to develop my customizations with as much future proofing as possible. And I no matter what I'm asked for, at some point I will start considering what in this could break in the future, because I absolutely hate to leave a customer with a customization that they're going to have to come back to me next year and the year. I don't do it. But if there's any situation that might like I can see that coming, I'm not going to do it, because I don't want them to have to then reach out to me and open up a new project and get that. So I like to give you something that once it's there, it's there. And then so when we're customizing, if we try to customize our own plugins, that's right off the bat, that's impossible to predict. There's no way the plugin development team can account for customizations being made to it, and they might be changing things that your customization is dependent on, and then a lot of things will break, and it might be a very urgent issue, and then getting support on that will be extra challenging too. It's just not practical. It's and like, there's more harm and more potential for harm for everyone involved than good. And that's why the enhancement requests are great. And that's why when you do have an idea for something, use the enhancement requests. It's never a matter of whether it can be done. It's that it just shouldn't be done. It's experience.
I do think
over
it's
the years
worth mentioning though that we do have 2 plugins that have kind of customization ability built into it.
And that's a different thing for sure.
Yeah,
like,
it's a very different thing.
Yes.
I do lots of customizations using the custom JavaScript feature of Report Creator. That's the supported way to do it, and it works great. And for those unaware of that, and for those who might be watching and say, I've got a report and I wish I could just do this, this thing, that's the way to do it. I've gone pretty far and done some pretty extensive modifications using strictly that tool, which is supported and doesn't affect the plugin itself.
Yeah, I've seen some of your customizations, Ryan, that you've done that are quite phenomenal using the custom JavaScript that have turned out really well for customers. Absolutely.
And I mean, I can't, I have to give credit to Eric as the brain behind.
Great timing. Giving him credit while he's gone.
but the truth is,
he's not going to be able to fit back in through the door.
My capacity to do that is elevated by the way he's designed the output and the way he's designed the elements and everything in there. It makes it so easy for me as a developer to go in and like you mentioned, inspecting things earlier, Shauna, to go in and inspect the elements of the page and the files and the reports, and then formulate a plan and an approach to then creating those modifications using the custom JavaScript. It makes it so easy.
Yeah, and I want to stress that there's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. For our report creator customers out there, there is a custom JavaScript area. So if your question is, it's just like PowerSchool, right? Like, can this be done in PowerSchool? Yeah, if you write custom code. I mean, hopefully we try to put all the features that 98% of anyone's going to want into that product. But as soon as you thought you've hit 100%, somebody will slap you in the face and prove you wrong. Right, but the answer is always yes. Can I do that? Yes, with custom JavaScript. And but even with that, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And Ryan's smart enough to know the right ways to do it. But yeah, to stress that that's out there and that's an option. People want to know if they can drop TList SQL into a report. No. But you can drop TList SQL into the custom JavaScript and pull whatever data you want from your state reporting extended tables, whatever else. You could put that on a report, but you want to be sure that you do it responsibly and carefully so that you're not impacting the performance of those reports. And in order to run a report for one student, you're querying that data for every student in your database that's ever existed in your SIS.
Eric, I know you've seen your fair share of that as well with Alert Creator, with people doing their own advanced student logic, and maybe not having a clean or long background in development, and throwing their hat in the ring for trying out development and next thing you know, we got a support ticket because they have a spinning wheel of death and alert creator.
Yeah.
Our first question might be,
it's a real double-edged sword, right? I mean, alert creator, for anyone who's not familiar with the plugin, it creates an alert, and you can create a simple alert that says, I want an alert that this student's enroll status is 0. Like, then typically when you're navigating through PowerSchool, it's going to be an alert for every kid, but it's an oversimplification. But if you want to say, well, we've created these special programs at our school, and I want an alert for students who are enrolled in a reading support program, I'm sure there's probably a more standard name for a reading support program that
again, never worked at a school.
Never worked in a school. I'm going to wear that shirt. The problem is Rami gave me that shirt about 8 years and 30 pounds ago.
I think what I'm hearing is he's begging for a new shirt.
You know he's not going to buy it himself. So
he needs a reading.
I guarantee
shirt,
you now that this has come
shirt.
up. Yeah. Okay. I still have Rami's cake batter, by the way, cake batter flavoring. When she came to join us at Wisconsin, we were so glad to have Rami. If you're listening, we love you. We miss you. A couple of years ago. And I was coming to Saudi Arabia to visit her for a conference, and she sent me this cake batter flavoring that she wanted to use for baking because Rami's a huge baker. And then thank God, she sent me a message at the last minute. Don't pack that. Don't bring it to me. It's got alcohol in it. Oh, okay. Good to know. You might not want to bring that through customs in Saudi Arabia. Anyway.
Are you done ranting now?
I digress.
We're on cake batter.
We all could have just left for like 10 minutes there. Honestly, though, guys, like if you guys have used the custom JavaScript, I would love to hear what you guys have done with that in the comments or, advanced student logic triggers. Our time's about up here, but I thank you, Shauna, for joining us. I feel like this has been a fun conversation. We haven't really spent a lot of time kind of talking about, our plugins or internal processes and stuff, but hopefully people find it interesting. I know I did. But I'm sure they'll let us know. So thank you so much for joining us. Yeah,
absolutely.
I know we didn't start with this, and I know I'm not drinking whiskey, but I am drinking organic kombucha today.
I love some kombucha.
I feel like Ryan was sipping on something.
An alcohol-free Guinness. It's honestly if you read the can, they say they make the Guinness and then they remove the alcohol. So it's not like one of those weird ones where they try to make a beer without alcohol.
You're just making stuff up.
No, it's Guinness without alcohol. It's fantastic.
Well, I know that I know that all of our listeners are going to find this hard to believe, but apparently I'm the only one actually drinking anything that does have alcohol content because I'm the only one talking coherent right now. But I am enjoying a porter from Central Waters, which is a brewery here in Wisconsin. Mud Puppy Porter.
Mud Puppy.
I mean, what sounds more appetizing than a beverage called Mud Puppy?
I'll put up my can too, just so anyone can see.
Huh? Well, I'm drinking good old Diet Coke.
Not every day can be exciting, Shauna.
I know exactly, right?
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us. And a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Enjoy more episodes and learn more at mba-link.com.